Yeah. I just don't want to be talking about the spaghetti. Yeah, you'd be broadcasting out there.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good.
Very popular early '80s. It's a farce.
We can see progress out of the MTSU thing now, can't we?
Remember you told me, look, got a hydroponics, whatever.
Can't believe how many people ask, what are they doing there for? What's it, what are they doing?
I'll tell you what, every time I drive by there, I was thinking, man, I wish I owned a feed store right there in the middle of all that.
Mhm. That's what he's doing, sitting on that feed store saying, this is my retirement right here.
That's exactly right.
I mean, it's just,
To be honest, I think I just forgot until I was talking to Matt. We were planning to do lunch and then he reminded me of it. So I'm sure you're the
Yes, sir.
No sound. Yeah, you can give us an update on all your construction.
Yeah, I don't have much other than everything you learned at the actual groundbreaking. So
Yeah. I knew that's what it was. Yeah, so you get two. Well. Yeah. In fact, both those guys, when they talking today, so when you get them.
Oh.
And some talking sheet.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a sign-in sheet.
Okay. Nobody's gonna sit in that chair. That is a.
No, they do that. End up for permanent. Here, wait, next time.
well, we do have a quorum, right? Yeah, that's, it's three of us. Barely. Yeah.
Change your signature. Everybody else signed it, but change it.
How many titles on that?
It's going to get into them. And all we were gonna do was replace it.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll get me and get her signed. That's fine.
Okay. Let me check. Yeah, she's got some discussion items on the agenda.
And you're done.
That's one. You see? Yeah.
But you guys were gonna fly with Corey today.
Right, that's not fair.
Well, that was tomorrow, actually. Detail.
Friday, no, we went to, Missouri today. You guys scrub Tupelo tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Let me know when you're going down there again. I'd like to make sure I'm there for you. I'd like to make sure I'm down there and.
Help around over there. Sounds good. It's their business going well over there. I don't know. Heard anything about it?
What?
Cow House. That's where we got that spaghetti from.
Oh.
It's Ruth's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Have
you go to jailhouse rock over here?
Yeah, that's where going. That's where.
Oh, that's where, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we're trying to. Like, help them out if we can.
Yeah.
Back now.
Yeah.
We started.
I had a burger there, the other day. They were pretty, the tables were pretty full, so about lunchtime.
I'd say it'll do good being that close to the jail.
You would think so.
Gotta eat.
I
Yeah.
was gonna ask you. Yeah, if I could take a look at it.
Looks like a brand new building.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Apparently.
Lot of employees up there.
Mhm.
Well, let's hope I don't forget.
Actually, you know, map, slightly lunch today.
Put it down there with my paperwork. Oh,
But so, this is the.
yeah, everybody's down.
Yeah.
Sign on the back room.
Mm-mm. Okay. They,
Appreciate it.
4 or 5 gets to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was good, really good turnout. Like I said. Yeah.
Especially the heat. I was a little skeptical how you're gonna do the heat. But we turned out okay.
It's me.
Well, there.
Good morning.
How's everybody?
It's in the squad day.
I'm gonna ask,
Me right there.
you still sick? No.
Not if you sit, not if you're still sick.
How do what now?
Are you well? To some extent, I heard you.
I was last week and I'm a whole lot better. I think Ginger gave it to me.
That's what we'll accuse her of.
How you guys?
She shows up.
Good.
She's not gonna be.
Hello, Captain. How you doing?
Doing well for yourself.
Because of me, she's behind. She's still.
Something to drink. I guess. I might get something to eat on. Oh, you doing okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Tired.
Very good.
Ron.
Hey there.
I told that guy, pull some of the stuff and don't do. I said,
Not very.
she be having gun day. Pull out the city. He just laughed.
This is almost.
Go there and watch over their shoulder.
See, you watch it like that was us.
He's just figuring out how to keep him out of jail. He's nipping in after they start.
What's yours? Two boys and girl. The 5-year-old is, yeah, he's,
Oh,
he's 11.
What do you think about Kelly?
Yeah. Yeah, we got.
Tell them to get in there. They're not here to get elected.
He can't be elected, I bet we need one here tonight.
Automobile dealership, a small. Vice chair of the party, because running around this week.
I'm good, how are you? Food was good, thank you. Good job, first time you. They just opened up not long ago. Yeah, they did, good job. You said that there about the mayor. You say.
Yeah, let's say not much.
Yeah. That's the first time I've been here for most days. Go over there.
So that you can't go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Better than deserved, brother.
Where's the speakers?
Oh, really? Maybe currently. So that we got.
What happened to us? Yes, we have to just one on the phone.
I went yesterday to see my oncologist.
How'd it go?
I'm fine. I'm clear as a bell, but he told me, he said, that lymphoma would have got you. We hadn't found it. He said it was took it.
Really?
Probably Gary Wheatley.
At least I talked to Joe this morning.
I talked to him on my
Yeah,
way out here.
Okay.
The Secretary of.
Cotton won't be with us today.
I don't know.
I talked to him before and he said he was coming.
I've never had nice questions like that.
If I could have everybody's attention, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to
Excuse me.
order. It is the Airport Authority Board meeting of January 22nd. I do have a roll call sheet going around, so if you have not signed that, please do so before you leave. We do not have a chairman here, and we have not elected a vice chairman, so I'm going to ask for nominations from the members for a temporary chairman for today's meeting.
Make a motion, we nominate. With the most experience. On this board. Thank you.
Nomination for Eric Larson, Member Cruz, and I believe I heard Member Kennedy second that.
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor?
I'll remember this.
I will turn, any opposed? I will turn the meeting over to, Chairman Larson, and we're ready for the approval of the agenda.
And may I say something before we get started? I wanted to come today and first of the year, we all appreciate all of the volunteers, you folks serving on this airport committee and this serves the city of Shelbyville and all our citizens in Bedford County. And we appreciate that volunteer effort. I talked to one of our volunteers this morning, that's sick on the planning commission. We have about 21 boards that we have in the city of Shelbyville, and it's all volunteer for those folks to serve, and we appreciate the time that they give. Of course, Paul and his staff out here are employees of the city of Shelbyville, and of course, I'm an elected official, and Bob is too. We just appreciate what you're doing. We're looking forward to what's this airport's going to look like in 5 or 10 years and what's going to happen. But the city of Shelbyville takes care of all of the finances out here and taking care of that. And of course, grants and other things that we have. But I want to appreciate you guys and what you're doing, and just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I guess approval of the agenda is next up. Any alterations or changes?
No, I do not. I have one if that's all right. I have not unless he comes. We have not been able to confirm number 2, Wesley Street. He has not been able to, has not confirmed with us where he's gonna be here today.
Okay,
We can leave it on there, and then when we get to it, if he's not here, we'll just defer it to
for it.
the next meeting.
Okay,
That works.
okay. Guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's gonna be a quick meeting.
Good job, guys.
Citizen comments are up next. I notice we have a good collection of galleries. Does anyone want to make a comment?
Yeah, citizen comment. Ms. Kelly, would like to make a citizen comment.
So I'm Lee Kelly. I'm the treasurer of EAA Chapter 1326 here at Shelbyville. And first I have a request. Our bank statements from November, they never got to us. And I'm concerned that either they got put in somebody else's slot or somebody else's mail got put on top of them because I found the mail from the slot below hours in hours, and I'm thinking whoever has the slot below hours maybe grabbed it and went and hadn't gone through the mail yet. So, so please check your mail and see if there's 2 bank statements in there addressed to EAA chapter 1326. Regarding EAA chapter 1326, the big news is we are now a 501c3 nonprofit and can accept donations that will be tax deductible. Of course, with the large standard deduction, you'd have to give us a lot of money as a private individual to be able to deduct that. But if you have a business, you could donate to us as a business expense to help further our mission to educate the public about aviation in general and experimental aviation, which means home built. So we'll be ramping up, more fundraising aimed at youth programs, scholarships, workshops, training of various kinds. And we will be able to accept the donation of that aircraft that's under construction out there, that RB6A. It's been sitting around for a couple of years, but now we'll be able to accept it and start doing a program of building workshops. So, yeah, that's the big news. We started last year the process of creating a new entity, applying for nonprofit status from the IRS, and I found that letter in the mail on Monday of this week. So it must have been delivered, last week, since Monday was holiday, but it was in there when I came to look for the mail. So thank you very much. And please check your mail to see if you can find 2 bank statements addressed to 1326.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't believe I have anybody else signed up.
Nope.
On it.
Okay. We'll go to the next agenda item is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. I don't think they're printed here, but they were in our emails.
I have a hard copy if somebody would like to.
I didn't see anything that stood out, changes that.
Not in.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Monthly discussion, old business. None. Great. Whoa, wait a minute. Monthly discussion, it
There we
means Paul.
That's me, yes.
Yeah.
Got a couple of things I was wanting to go over. You've got some handouts. Take a quick look. One of the things that, you have some standard monthly things that's out there. And so those are pretty regular, but this is not exactly what I was looking over, but these larger handouts in reference to our operations. You can kind of see the longer one there. Starting when our system was installed in 22 through, actually even went through 26, but you can see over the last 4 years, the number of how our operations have gone. There's a little graphic representation. So you can see what our operation numbers look like. But if you look at, there's one other handout that you've got here for per tower at the top, and you can see it's pretty small writing. So if you need to borrow my glasses, you're welcome to do that. But you see compared to last year to 24, we have total operations of 55,877. And that's according to the data that flowed from Vertala. And so there are occasions where there are some things that could be missed on there, or there's always an opportunity. Like I think you'll see in 25 of 737 landed here. That's not right. It was based on a brand new ADSB that apparently had come from somewhere else, or something. It could be that it came to Patriot in the corner to get fixed and get it so it's no longer a 737. But it's always interesting to see that kind of stuff on the numbers, though. But you can see 25. This is the first time in 25 that we've gotten over 60,000 operations. We usually been running in the 50 range, and so we've gained about 10,000, almost 11,000 operations since we've been able to get a good number on versus just a windshield kind of guess.
And define operations for us, Paul.
in this particular scenario, that is always been entertaining for the two different softwares that we use as to what's considered operation. But here is the takeoff is one and landing is another, is the way they look at it. So those are what you're seeing as far as the operations you're seeing. So bird tower does count touch and goes. You'll see those as well. Some are not treated that way because FAA still kind of says no, touch and goes don't count. I don't know where they get that idea, but so as long as we're using the same software across the whole time, you can kind of see the uptick. Now, one thing that was in this long form that you see going back to this long one, you can see it's broken down by month. So you can kind of see somewhat of a trend, but I mean, it's entertaining. What probably drove is September of this year is what put us up that extra, because that's a significant jump compared to what we've had before. So I don't have usually on the monthly reports, I don't have it for the annual, but on the monthly reports, you can usually see where there's a weather versus operations kind of. And so at an airport like this, when the weather's bad, you're not going to get the operation. So you can kind of tell on that. But for some reason, I guess the weather was really nice in September this year, or MTSU was a little behind. I don't know what it was. You guys take back there, but September they really kicked it up a notch as far as operations. But you can also see in springtime it does the same thing in March. So you get that same layout there. All right. Those are little factoids that you can use for a calendar year. The next thing that we're going to discuss real quick is email it to you. I printed out just a few pages of it because it's 77 pages. I didn't see a reason to do that. But it is, this just recently came out from FAA trying to discuss, it's wanting to talk about the transition to unleaded fuel. Some of you are not on the board, but we had requests quite some time ago about what's the wanting to know what the plan for the airport was about unleaded fuel. And at the time, we really didn't have one because unleaded is not being good traction. But FAA is going to force it no matter what, as you can see through this process. I gave you this sort of gives you a broad view of what they're going to do over the next few years. The thing is they've set themselves a deadline, or set the United States a deadline. Everybody's got to have unleaded fuel on their airports by the end of December of 2030. And so they're not giving any really good knowledge as to, I mean, we're expecting the big, as far as fuel providers to start working with them as far as distribution at some point in time when FAA finally decides who's going to be providing unleaded fuel and how. Some of our maintenance guys here can probably tell you some of the issues. Sorry, I'm trying to get Gary Fayard trying to get Gary into the meeting.
They know we're going, they know when.
I know, but it keeps taking like me in, but I don't have a place to let him in.
Yeah. It should come up right there. Maybe you can share the invite. Is he on his email?
If we open the wrong one. But it's. Using this one with Kate Steer, he's using the one that's for you.
I mean, that's one I thought that was a Facebook. What happened when you sent your?
It used to be for his email.
Do that. Go back to share. And say, Larry, that's all. Copy meeting, share. Copy meeting, link. Now, go out your email,
Because it's not mine, so.
so you can't get it that way. Alright.
Going back to what I was talking about here, we'll keep trying to work through this. Eric might be able to add some information on this too. They're not, as far as unleaded is concerned, they're not gaining any traction. There's multiple companies that are trying to see if you can get them in, if you don't mind. There are multiple companies that are, there's 3 companies that they're going to be studying with, trying to get them to provide unleaded fuel. Only one, I believe, claims that they can do it without tearing up your engine. The rest of the other ones, I think, saying that the engines are going to have to be modified in some form or fashion. Which, so not only is it going to be our concern, it's going to be those that are pilots based here. If all of a sudden, at the end of whether they're available or not, 2030, if our fuel provider Campbell starts delivering unleaded fuel and airplanes are not available for it or not ready for it. FAA doesn't seem to be too concerned about it. They're leaving it up to us. They're just like I said, they're continuing to push to it. Even with, and the GAs right now are hoping that cooler heads will prevail later on as they get into this process and go through the evaluation process and find that it's not ready for public. And so it could be this pushed on, but 4 years in airports is not that long, because that's to make sure that your filters work properly. There'll have to be some things that go through different on our fuel farm.
Yeah.
And with FAA, they're known to have unfunded mandates. So that's some things that we'll have to take into consideration as well. Now, of course, we'll work with our provider to try to make that happen when the time comes, but right now, we don't have the funds. Would I like to be able to say we will have 1 tank of unleaded and 1 tank of regular until such time as our guys are fixed? Love to be able to do that, because that means I get to use that tank for something else later.
Yeah.
Which I do have plans for another tank, but I don't think that it's in my plan in the next 4 years, just because the cost of it. Because that is a revenue generating, you will not get any support from the state either. As far as replacing tanks, fixing tanks, things of that nature. Will the state change their mind in 4 years when it all hits it all gets chaotic? That's possible. We'll have to see. But I just thought I'd put it out there for you guys because of the fact that it could, if FAA doesn't get some common sense in this process, or it's going to require a lot of advancements in 4 years. And tell FAA you want to do something this year, they said, well, you should have told us 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's so they're already behind even on their own schedule. Eric, you got any more you want to?
Yeah,
just involved with it somewhat.
We are, yeah, just a little insight here. The company that I work for is one of 5 distributors for G100 UL, one of the 3 candidates for the unleaded replacement fuel. It is the only unleaded replacement fuel that is STC'd for all general aviation piston-powered aircraft, both fixed wing and rotorcraft. However, there's some issues that have arisen with it in terms of swelling gaskets and degrading paint. We've done our own research on it, and it does swell gaskets and it does degrade paint. So, but it runs as advertised, and Corey, our company president, has been running it in his Baron for 6 months now and doesn't notice any difference between the performance of 100 low lead and the performance of G100 UL. Because we're the one of 5, the FAA reached out to us, and we're the only one of the 5 that was willing to sell the FAA fuel. So we have agreed to sell the FAA thousands of gallons of this fuel. They ship us 50-gallon drums. We fill individual 50-gallon drums, load them up, palletize them, and ship them to an FAA testing facility in Virginia, where they're testing this fuel versus Lyondell versus Swift versus regular 100 low lead. My conversations with the FAA indicate that those dates that Paul gave you are hard dates. They're going to do this no matter what. It's coming. So we have to figure out what we're going to do as airports. We have to figure out what we're going to do as FBOs. We're lucky in our case, we have it down in Tupelo. We had an extra fuel tank that we used for waste fuel that we had cleaned out and reconditioned, and that's separate for our 100 low lead versus our G100 UL. But in Paul's case and in most airports case, there isn't. So at some point in time, there's going to be a decision that has to be made by each airport. Do we stop buying 100 low lead here and then switch over? Or do we put in 2 tanks and then 2 or 3 years down the road, what do we do with the tank we put in? So it's coming. We're not going to stop it. It probably won't get extended anymore. We've had high-level conversations with the FAA. Something's going to happen. One of those 3 fuels are going to be the winner. That's what we've been given direction on.
They are gonna, according to FAA, one of their current plans are they all the different distributors, all the different manufacturers of 100 low lead, they're gonna give them a date and say, here's your end date. You cannot manufacture anymore. And so then it's just from that point forward, they're gonna be pumping it through the line. And once it's done, it's done. So, and can't really mix them. The idea is some are still trying to figure out whether you can mix them even.
That's part of what they're testing. The G100 UL that we're associated with is produced by GAMI. George Braley is the inventor and the president of GAMI. He claims that it's completely mixable, and you can mix half a load of 100 low lead with half a load of G100 and you're fine. That's part of what the FAA is testing with all of these fuels. And I think the manufacturers of these 3 alternative fuels are taking it seriously. I don't know how much product is available for Swift and Lyondell, but GAMI has 1 million gallons mixed and stored in Texas right now. As we speak, we get our delivery from there, and they have one great big storage tank of 1 million gallons. So they're ready.
We do have in our ACIP with the state that we have to submit, even though we know that they won't participate in it, but there's possibilities that there could be an earmark of some kind that comes up later. So we have it on the plan just in case. Another fuel farm, not a farm, just a single tank that we're looking to place actually right next to the existing building that MTSU's got up there, so that, and it would be, their primary function would be to fuel their trucks, just so that it keeps their trucks, because once they get here, they'll go from 1 truck to 3 trucks. And having those guys coming down the taxiway on a regular basis, because those trucks are not big enough, they're constantly gonna be needing to refuel. So it'll work out best for everybody if it's our fuel, we maintain the fuel tanks, because that's not something that they can do the proper training for. And that's part of our agreement too, that they would buy their fuel from us. But that way we could set it up for them, and all they have to do is hook their trucks to that tank, and they'd be the only ones using it. And so that would work out well too, because Hawkins and others, are constantly in front of the fuel tanks as well. So, there's always jockeying for position down there as it is. So we could, and I could be coming to the city to ask for a tank, maybe if it comes to that. But we're kind of hoping it doesn't, but we at least here have a plan for what we can do with another tank.
Yeah.
I kind of was of the impression that electric would probably have more advance than unleaded. So there's still that out there too, that we'll have to consider that in the plan in the future too, because you know that others, Hawkins and MTSU and other flight training schools will probably be some of the first to start using the electric because they're shorter pops, things like that. So we'll have to find ways to take care of electricity and still be able to, like they are with cars now, how you're getting an income from electric cars, take care of the roads. So the same scenario, we'll have to figure out how to do something with electricity to get to take care of the road and maintain things.
Would your fuel supplier not provide you a tank if you were entering into a contract with them to purchase fuel?
It's unusual, but there's things that can be done. There's ways for them to set up like a temporary truck, something like that, where they can bring a trailer in basically and set it up outside.
Aviation fuel tanks are a little different than like a job site fuel tank for diesel or whatever. They're the NFPA and ATA 103 especially get involved in that, and we have all sorts of requirements in terms of explosion proof switches and double wall tanks, and the filtration is completely different. So there are those concerns. When Paul talks about putting a new fuel farm in, there's also lead time on that. Right now, we're putting one in Paducah, and it's a 9-month lead time on ordering the tank. And there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 250,000 for the tank, and then you've got to do the groundwork and run the electrical and have your containment area and all of that. So it is not a last minute decision that, okay, FAA said this is going to happen next year, we got to do it now. We're going to have to plan probably several years in advance to.
And that's the reason why, even though this says draft, I did go ahead and bring it up, just to sort of get it out there that, you know, they're bringing it whether we really want to or not.
Yep.
And we will have to address it in some form or fashion. Hopefully, when the big boys get involved, when I say that, it's like Fuel, Phillips 66, Titan, those guys get more involved. There'll be a better game plan. But I think they probably won't get involved until FAA figures out who they're going to use.
That's exactly right. AvFuel was almost involved with GAMI's product, and they backed off on that. GAMI's difficult to work with, and GAMI didn't want to go through some of the certification process that allows AvFuel to be able to get their loads insured on the road, trucking insured on the road. So that's part of the concern right now, is how do you insure those loads if they're not certified by the same companies that certify 100 low lead or unleaded gasoline for cars, because these are brand new products. We're not that far down the road yet. So Vital makes the product. That's the refiner that makes G100 UL. And when we get our product, we're an AvFuel dealer in Tupelo. AvFuel had us sign a waiver that it would not be mixed. We can't use any trucks. We can't have any labeling that says AvFuel on it. There's a clear, distinct separation. And all of the fuel providers are that way right now with all of these unleaded fuels. They're taking a hands off and seeing who's going to be the winner.
All I have.
Did you have anything more on financial reports or anything, Paul?
I'm sorry, Lisa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It was us. We're still trying to get.
There he is. There you are. Can you hear us?
No.
No. Like we're good on our side.
Is he muted?
No, he's saying we can hear him, he can't hear us.
Okay. Do you want us to continue?
Yes, because,
Okay.
no,
Yeah, go ahead.
next, Curl Construction's got to leave here.
Okay, well, my question to you is, did you had anything more on the financial, monthly reports or?
I've got, copy here if anybody needs it, if anybody has any questions in reference to it. December, I know that, our December numbers, as far as, because you kind of look at some of the percentages that we've got, our products are not to the percentage that was set on the budget, but our revenue from fuel, or so our fuel sales are up compared to what was estimated on budget, which is, I'm having to set the budget out 18 months ahead of time, so it's kind of hard to figure that out on that, but we are ahead of, we are ahead on that as far as that's concerned.
Okay. Given the time constraints with Curl, we'll go right to new business then, since there's no old business. Curl Construction, John Glass, future box hanger.
I'm John Glass with Curl Construction. Just two things real quick. We've done numerous airport projects around the state, and we're really looking forward to bidding on all the projects y'all got coming up. Second, we want to build hangars. I believe you have 6 spaces just to the south of the terminal building, box hangars. We would like to build all those hangars, in turn lease them out or sell them. We would come to you for a lease agreement with the new tenant. But I'm ready to put deposits down. I can be here tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. If that's agreeable to y'all, I'll put deposits down and we're ready to sign lease agreements on all 6 of them.
Have you had,
So, we've talked and addressed it, at least one to start, because of the fact the issue is the same as what we had when you had Jack Campbell come in. He's talking about spots that don't exist just yet because we're having to build a taxiway. So I think some of it's going to be working with Matt Garver and others to try to figure out exactly where. And actually I've had him in contact with the gentleman that's number 2 on the list because he was wanting to build something very similar to what they wanted to start with. And so in hopes that they could get together and try to make that work. I could easily see starting with one and then working our way through the process, see how it works before, because I've had others that have expressed interest. And it could be that we start finding some ahead of time. And, those guys, some of those guys struggle with the upfront money. And so obviously if they want to work through something with Curl with the upfront, that could be a win-win scenario. So that's definitely something worth looking at, following through with where everything's going to go. Because I get approached regularly. I had a meeting yesterday, yesterday, I think it was, maybe the day before yesterday, with another gentleman that can do something similar. Not the big ones like they're wanting to do, but smaller ones. So I get regular requests. So we just have to stay with it. But I do think we might be we probably need a little bit more time to figure out exactly where we can put that footprint for the big one. But I would like to, I think it's a very good option. I do think that public-private partnerships are the way to go. I mean, it was kind of brought up all the way back. Some people don't realize it's been over 20 years that those first started hitting airports. But we seem to now, Tennessee was sort of lagging behind in that because Tennessee had money at one point in time. Now Tennessee doesn't have any money. Their politicians gave it all away or gave it back, whatever you want to call it. And so in turn, now there has to be other avenues. And so that is most common avenues is for that public-private partnership. And so I definitely think that's a good way to go. And I think we should probably start at one at a time versus us, selling out the entire thing. And I can give you an example on that from our neighbors. And this is from years ago. They, in Columbia, in Murray County's airport, they leased out all the raw land that they had at one time and put it down on lease. The guy never built on it.
Yeah.
I think he either went out of business or got discouraged, and they had their hands cuffed. I mean, they couldn't do anything with it because it was under contract.
Hmm.
And they couldn't force anybody to build, and people were wanting it, couldn't have it. And so they sat there. So that's years of experience. I would prefer to go one at a time. That way we know this exact square foot, we know how to make it work,
Right.
things like that.
And we would be perfectly fine if you wanted to work in, say, a time frame of 24 months for us to build a hangar. We're completely good with that.
Yeah, I think you could contract around that. But also so Paula, you're going to get us like the master plan to show where these, plots would be available
That was my question.
for Mr. Curl, for,
Yes, yes, we actually have a layout that Matt's provided that's pretty much to scale. And there is a spot at the end of this taxiway that we are going out for bid for next month that will be available for a large box hangar like he's discussing, 100 by 120 size hangar. That also happens to be the same kind that number 2, Wesley Street, Nashville Flying Service was coming to us about relocating 3 of their jets from Smyrna, wanting to do the same thing, about that same size. They've worked together somewhat. Don't know that may or may not be able to come to an agreement, but if nothing else, Curl still wants to continue forwards. It's just nice when you already have your spot leased before you even build it. And I hope that it can work with them but we have a spot already designated for that size hangar. We still want to do, in between that, we will be building another hangar up the cities. So, the other side is a little bit smaller side. They're only can go 80 feet deep based on their terrain and the layout and width constraints and things like that.
What size hangars are you anticipating building?
We're interested 100 by 100 and 80 by 80s. The T hangars, we would think about that, but we're more interested in the bigger hangars that we could help y'all attract jets and fuel cells.
Yeah. In the past, when somebody's come to the board to request a lease to start construction, they usually bring some sort of plan or airport drawing so we can look at it, make sure it meets the minimum requirements that we've set. Do you have those types of, this is just an introductory meeting today?
Correct. Yeah, we do not have that since the taxiway doesn't really even exist yet.
So I can show you where the layout is, and there's examples that they can show easily because they've built in Tullahoma. They've built
Right.
hangars in Tullahoma before. And so you can see what they've done there as far as seeing their quality of work, things of that nature.
So Paul, I've seen some change in the past that used to be first come, first serve. Curl Construction would come here and say, I want this parcel, and they were the first to the table. Great, we give you that parcel. Change to now, it's almost standard practice. Some of the airports that we deal with it, when we've got a parcel ready to go, we issue an RFP and then make it a competitive bid process to see who gets that. Have we considered doing that, and what would be the pros and cons?
That's what we need to do. I'd say on the city side, that's what we don't just let them give it all to Curl. Because I mean, there's like you said, there's other people in the game. And they may not want to lease nothing, or they might want to be their own, and I can understand that. But we gotta be careful which way we go.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think that's definitely a good a good problem to be able to have that kind of situation. And so until now, we really haven't had that kind of format that will allow that to happen. So this could be a good time to start that process.
I think we're in a very good spot. You didn't talk much about the impending Class Bravo. I don't know if that's on the agenda or not, but
The ad hoc meeting at MTSU has been postponed.
So it has.
I don't know if that means if they did
okay.
it because of concerns for weather, or if they did it because they're slipping, the dates are moving on with FAA.
Okay.
We had some folks from C that wanted to be included. Leave it at that.
Okay.
So I took that off the discussion just because of the fact that meeting got moved, and I wanted to, there was no word as to why. So I just wanted to find out before I put it out there if for some reason something was, timeline was altered.
under the assumption that the timeline remains the same, I don't know if you all have looked at that map, but it puts this airport in a really good position, I think. Lie right outside of all that craziness, and a lot of our competitors lie right underneath it. So I think the visibility of this airport in terms of who might want to come and build here is only going to increase. So I'd love to see Curl start building some hangars, but I think the best thing for the airport would be to do an RFP process.
Yeah. And we can definitely look into that process. If that's what you guys as a board would like to go with, we can definitely look into that.
Well, I mean, I think that would, if that's the will of the board, then that eliminates anyone from coming back before us from this day forward until we develop that RFP process, because it has been, like you said, the practice of this board since I've been on here is someone shows up, they say, I want this spot, and we give it to them. So, you know, as this gentleman stands here today, ready to do something, it seems somewhat unfair to him. I know he's wanting 6, but it seems unfair to deny him of 1 until we come up with another process when we haven't held anyone else to that same standard. So I think we need to, you know, if that's the process we're going to go, we need to develop it fairly quickly and, you know, be ready to move with that.
I'd agree with that.
It's like we could just do one and then
One and then
and then,
everybody else.
and then as that's being developed. But in the same time, they can't move until, I mean, they might be able to put a deposit down on that spot, but they can't do anything for, you're looking at almost fall. I would say Matt might know better, but probably fall before that area is going to be available to start doing some kind of site prep and things of that nature. But some of it could be worked on prior to, but.
So it's not build ready is what you're saying.
No, it is, the taxiway is not there, but the utilities are there. So that portion of it is build ready. It's just the taxiway.
Do you have funds set aside for the taxiway?
Yes, that's
Okay.
part of that $6 million.
Okay.
That's going out for bid in February. And it'll be described a little bit more in this construction update that's later on in the agenda. And so we'll be able to get we'll have some time frame to establish that type of RFQ situation. But those, as far as with that taxiway, we will. And so I guess that's also another thing is RFQs versus RFPs versus how it's to be laid out. And
I mean, I know a little bit about it. I see. A little bit. RFP is a request for a proposal. So you tell us what your plan is, show us what your plan is.
Right.
And then I think the city has the discretion to look at those proposals and choose the one that they see fits their vision best. An RFQ is qualifications. I don't think that would apply in this because that's usually like if we're looking for an engineering company and we don't have to rely on the cost, we can rely on their qualifications instead because, you know, that's in place so that you don't get somebody that bids real low but doesn't really know what they're doing. So that's the difference. So I think in this situation, what you're looking for would probably be an RFP.
And is that a long process to develop an RFP for what we're talking about here for those parcels? I mean,
not if you say you've experienced it other places, I don't mind borrowing from somebody else. I don't try to reinvent the wheel.
I got Salil's phone number if you need it.
So we can do that and work with purchasing department.
There are some time requirements on it, like she has to advertise it at a certain time, it has to stay out for a certain length of time. But I think it's all, once the RFP is ready to go, I think it would probably be about a 2-month process.
Which would still be in place before you'll have the taxiway ready anyway, right?
Correct.
So you're not suggesting that we would be taking like a sealed bid on and making this competitive to where someone else could step in and say, hey, I want this property, but I will give you X number of dollars.
So what I've seen in the past, and yeah, Smyrna is a very good example of that right now. They're about to open up that other area down there. Is that they'll ask for a competitive bid and you will submit based on what they're asking for, what size hangar you want to build, what sort of features it's going to have, what kind of airplanes you might be putting into it, and what you're willing to pay for that parcel. And then there's usually within the RFP, there's a scoring matrix in there that says how your bid is going to be scored. We'll give you, X% based on how much you're going to pay us, X% based on the size of the hangar, those types of things. So you can see going in how to develop your bid in a most competitive way. And then the bids are opened and the committee votes on which one they're going to accept based on those scorings.
But historically, we've leased property based on a set rate that we already have per square foot.
Right.
So are we then saying that we're also going to take a look at that? Because if you're getting into competitive, I understand the RFP request for proposals.
Right.
But are we also going to have an element in there where it's a sealed bid where they are offering more than what we are asking for or what we have been charging for the square footage that they have here? Because there's two, I mean,
You're right.
you could take still bids.
Yep.
Then it's competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, where people come out here, or just a proposal, this man's proposing that he was wanting to do 6 of them out here. So if he's here today, ready to do 6, you have a proposal. Are we going to require them to do a proposal every time he wants to do an additional hangar? So
Yeah, I
you
understand
see what I'm
you're
saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
because if no one else shows up in line that's ready to
That's
do
right.
this, we're still penalizing
Well, if no one else shows up in line, and there's only one person and they submit an RFP for all 6, assume you release all 6 at the same time, you can put in the RFP, minimum price is this.
Right.
So you have to pay at least this. And then your contractor who's ever bidding on that needs to make a determination. Do I think there's going to be a lot of competition here? Or do I think I'm going to be the only one bidding? And so we know as an airport that we're going to get a floor of X. Well, we could get a lot more. What we did in Montgomery, Alabama, we bid on the FBO down there. We were not the winning bidder, our company, but they did it that way. And they had first an RFQ. So you had to prove that you had the wherewithal to be able to bid on it. So from that RFQ, only those were able to submit an RFP. And then from that RFP, you had to meet these minimum requirements. You had to bid at least so much a square foot. You had to guarantee that you were going to put at least X million dollars into infrastructure and that. And so then you also had to have 2 meetings where they were required meetings. So when Paul has the airport layout plan and he knows where that taxiway is going, when it's going, he says, okay, all these people want to be part of this RFP. It's a mandatory meeting. So it's mandatory bid meeting. You've had these before. So they show up, mandatory bid. Curl might show up, Wesley Street might show up, others might show up. You get a chance to size up who showed up, because I know if they're not in this room, they can't bid. They had to be in this room. So now I know how much interest there was in that. And I think in the past, we've always first come, first served, because it hasn't been a scarcity of resource. But what we're seeing now is, man, there's a scarcity of plots. John Toon sold out. You can't buy anything on John Toon right now. Nashville, I'm not sure if they have anything available left. They may have some stuff on the far side.
They're developing now where those soccer fields were.
Right. So there is a very scarce resource for places to build hangars.
Right. I just think it completely changes the way we've done it.
It does.
Because if you're going to, I mean, if we're going to say that it's a competitive bid process, we haven't used that at all.
That's right.
We've charged the person for the amount of square footage that they're occupying.
Right.
So
This is
I haven't really looked into that at all, so I would have to get more information on working through that process and how to develop that. One that would intrigue me would be the area he's talking about, those other spots on the other side of the taxiway, potentially saying, here's your amount, this is 1 acre. What would your proposal be for, I mean, you're not limited because it's location. There is no height restrictions for the most part, as long as you're not building a 200-foot tower.
Right.
I mean, you can build whatever building, so it would be interesting to hear a proposal if they're proposing to build, 160 by 80 or if they're looking to build 380 by 80s or what it would be, what they think would work best for their, for their profit or their rentals. I mean, they might have contacts to, I know John's around aviation a long time. He might have contacts to where, they already have somebody wanting to lease it out already and have people in hand. So I don't want to hold them up on the big one on one side, but potentially do that on the other. I don't know, just because I've not worked through that process before to see how long it would take to set that up. Make sure it's done fairly.
I just think we need to get with Ginger and make sure that we are going in the right direction with that, because if this gentleman does do one, we allow him to do one, deny him to do two, and then we bring somebody else in that they do their first. He was ready to do his second. I mean, we're still going around the same method that we've been going, but we've deprived a person who's stood before us today saying, I'm ready to do 6.
We don't have a proposal to vote on today anyway, is that right?
It's up to you if you want to put one, but there's not, I mean, there is, like you said, he doesn't have plans in hand to show you or anything like that. He just, the general area I can point out to where we've talked about, but that's all we've done is talk and just, I guess as much as anything, he needs a nod like we've done in the past to keep moving versus, put his resources out there saying, it looks like we're going to need another 30 days, so he's not going to be jumping on it. Or if he says, you got a nod to get started, then he can get started on designing plans and presenting something and to see if it meets your standards. That makes sense.
Kind of almost seems like 2 decisions. One, what do you do in the immediate term for Curl standing in front of us today? And 2, what is the long-term best interest of the airport for the remaining parcels in the future?
And that, again, I mean, we're at least 8 months away before they would be able to get access to be able to, I mean, they may be able to start 7 months from now with a site prep or something like that and start the construction. And, they're not going to get a hangar of that magnitude up in 30 days. It's going to take them a little bit longer than that.
One thought too, and it depends on some variables. If they interested in, building the taxiway there, if they win that contract and then, having stuff on site and building with, obviously that requires some things to fall in place, but that could work where they're building that and then, hey, we're out here, we're mobilized, we can build adjacent with it. That's not a guarantee.
Sorry.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we defer this for 1 month, that we leave Mr. Curls for this proposal, bring it back to the meeting next month, and that we pause any future hangars until we have a special call meeting with our city attorney and our elected officials so that we can determine the route we're going to go forward with all future hangar developments on airport property.
That's your motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
John's got another meeting to get to.
Okay.
Thank you. Whole meeting, I've got to go to something there.
Thank you.
Tell them what we're talking about.
Yeah. Nashville Aircraft Management, Wesley Street they're not here, so we'll just defer that till next time. Okay.
And that's the same, it's gonna be another situation. Because that's what he was looking to build. He already has owners. He's not a construction company looking to do it to either lease out or to.
Right.
He's the same scenario as these other last two hangars that you guys approved. And so he's building it for himself or for his clients.
Clients in hand.
He's the pilot.
And, right,
He's
yeah.
the manager of Plaza Airplanes. I mean, he's just, he'll have to go out for bid or talk to Carroll Construction and get them to build it for him.
Okay. I suppose there's nothing to, any other discussion on that process or
I know that Katie's reached out to him again, so hopefully he'll respond and we'll be able to just tell him it was deferred or just tell him he was removed because he didn't show. What would you prefer? Or tell him that everything's been put on pause right now until we can establish the proposal scenario.
Before we move on, can I just ask a couple of questions to our city officials? This RFP process that we were kind of talking about today, is that standard practice in the rest of the city? How would that align us in our procedures with the way the rest of the city does business?
So, I mean, we rarely do jobs where people are paying us money.
Yeah.
But we have in the past done that when we sold the buildings up on the square.
That's right.
And we did RFPs for that.
Right.
And we had, there were, we put them out. We had 2 proposals that came back to us and the council met and considered the proposals and then voted for
Right.
and awarded the one that they wanted. So we have done that in the past, but that's just not, it's not something that we do a lot of, but.
And the construction goes before the planning commission? Don't we look at those,
Yes, all plans have to go.
that's
through
exactly right.
planning and codes,
Okay,
yes.
so, yeah.
And they do.
You probably knew that already,
Yeah.
Aaron.
And they take care of us to make,
Yeah.
the planning as far as laying out of an airport is us and
Right.
Garver. Their planning is going to make sure that it's adherent to the proper codes
Yeah.
and that they're also, because they will become ours, they want to make sure it's built well.
Built well.
Built well, that it's going to
Right.
be here. And
Right.
in 31 years, when the lease is up, they won't fall over at the hard next wind comes.
Yeah.
And those RFPs that we did for the building, they did include costs, like, how much are you gonna pay us for the
Right,
buildings?
Right,
And then what are you gonna do with it?
Right,
So
right.
then the council could consider everything. They
Yep.
could consider how much they were getting paid, but they could also consider the vision, and they weren't tied to go with the cost. They could go either way.
Right, okay. Okay.
and that's a timing thing. A lot of times that's a timing thing. In that particular case, it was.
And that brings up the question to Paul. You're the one taking all of the phone calls every day. Perhaps there isn't the desire from multiple entities to build hangars out here. I mean, how much interest do you see? If we had an RFP, would there be more than one bidder?
Yes, there would be
Okay.
probably. Yes, and not all of them have been exactly the same. So it's not like everybody's saying, I want to come build. And then somebody
Right.
comes the next day and says, I want to build this too. I mean, it's everything that's being brought to me is completely different. Everything from the gentleman I met with is wanting the property farther over for T hangars and some other types of hangars, smaller hangars versus what Carl wants to build, the bigger ones. He's hesitating on T hangars because he knows he can't make any money on T hangars. So so they would not compete with each other for that.
Yeah.
But do we, continue to say, we're gonna put an RFP out for this number of square feet, and then once that's completed, then we move out and say, well, okay, we're headed to the next square feet.
I guess that's the open question based on how much interest. Yeah.
And, and I've been approached by people in all different scenarios of hangar complexes to T hangars to individual big hangars. But that's what Carl would prefer, is to continue to build the big ones, lease them out or sell it. I think he would probably try to sell first. And if he doesn't get a buyer within a certain amount of time, he's not going to leave them empty. He's going to lease it out in the meantime.
Mhm.
Example of There's some big examples of small hangars being sold for ridiculous numbers.
Yes.
In and around Nashville right now, so I'm sure it's gonna attract attentions. Once it gets out there and they find that we have build-ready sites, it will probably get some other attention. It's probably the same people that built those in Lebanon that are trying to sell them for $800,000 a piece. They're gonna come down here.
Yeah.
And try to do something.
Okay.
So I've got some marching orders on that as far as determining on the RFP and how to make that happen and how to
Yeah.
properly lay it out, see what we can find out. And if anybody has any information, then I'll be glad to take it. I don't want to reinvent the wheel if I don't have.
I think the ones that Seville and those are doing up in Smyrna is a good place to start. Also, the ones that they did up at John Tune. You need. Y'all have any other questions about those?
I think we just need to, I know on the city side, we need to make sure that when we get into this, that all the players know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Our potential builders, just like Wesley Street, you know, he might want two for the lots. You can't just let Carl come in here and have all 6 of them, put it out there, make it a big deal. Hey, we got 6 spots. Who's in? In that way, you know, that's what you're supposed to do.
Also, one of the things that muddies the water a little bit is the fact of, I look for business plans too. So I'm looking for somebody that's, you know, somebody that's going to bring in a turbine shop to me is going to get a whole lot of attention versus somebody. Now I understand bringing in 3 jets. Yes, that's going to get attention, but if somebody says, I mean, somebody needs to repair those 3 jets and the others that we have on the field and attract others to the field. And I know the other businesses here too would, you know, enjoy having some of that big stuff sitting on their ramp too.
Yeah, and see, those things are things you discuss before the council when we make those decisions, just like Lisa said. There's a whole lot of things into that decision process but we can make it quickly. I don't think it's gonna be a dragged out thing. I think we can do it quickly.
But I think this would theoretically change the way that all the people that currently have leases, it would, when their leases expire, we would have to go into a competitive bid or proposal once their leases expire, unless they have a automatic renewing clause, because then maybe someone else is interested in that lease. So it completely changes the way that we approve properties out here.
I have a feeling that it would probably end up going that way with those hangars that you're describing, that 30 years from now or 25 years from now, when those become city property, that yes, you will. I would encourage, I hope I'm not here to enforce it. I won't be. I do 25 years. I do encourage the city put it out for bid. Who's willing to pay what? Because I've been offered, like, for example, EA hangar, I've been offered some pretty decent dollar amounts for in that hangar. You know, other things like that, other things where people have come in and said, you know, so there's others that would lease that square foot. And say, here's my proposal. I won't lease it for $5,000 a month, whatever.
It's an uncomfortable decision to make. I agree. It is becoming more standard. We're seeing that more and more. You need to build into your lease on the front end, your business plan and amortizing your ROI right on the front end. What is my initial term? How many renewals can I build into that? And can I make a business case, my ROI okay? Because at the end of that final renewal term, most of the time they're going back out for bid. Okay.
Fun times.
Move on to other business and announcements. A Ralph Johnson update.
Okay, if you recall, I know it's been a bit, but we had some concerns with Ralph because of the fact that he moved in assisted living and we lost any kind of proper communication with him. And he had developed a backlog with rent for us that Katie stayed on that. And so it's been taken care of. And now she's got a proper point of contact for his estate. Ralph will not ever be flying again, but it's still staying under his name. It's still staying under his, the airplane staying under his name, his lease staying under his name. But his they calling themselves executors? What do they call it? I know it's, I mean, it's mainly his son and daughter-in-law, but they're calling themselves something as far as the trust. I think it's all put in the trust. So I guess they're executors of the trust or something like that.
Yeah.
They're paying it. We've got proper layouts as far as communications, and they've been on the dime.
They paid up through March. They're good until April.
So we wanted it on there so that you guys were aware, because I know a lot of people know that Johnson family. All right, so we want to make sure everybody was aware that it's been squared away.
Okay. Number 2 is property tax update.
Okay, this was one that, it's just recently reared its head. And I was hoping that Ginger was going to be able to give us a little bit more. I passed along information to Lisa and Ginger for them to play with. We've been just reached out to by Ronna Clayton with the county in reference to basically what she's calling is a real property tax.
Personal property.
She's calling it a real.
Oh, is she?
So she's calling it real because she's actually wanting to. So there's probably more than one tax in this scenario. You're not looking at the contents. She's looking at the structure, and she's wanting to tax the structures now. Since we've got so many new hangars, companies wanting to come get their share of it. As that's kind of what she presented it. So it's more like a real property tax, since you can't tax the ground because we own it. They want to tax the hangar. They want to come out and find out about what's any improvements inside it. So that's going to be interesting because that's never been done before. She supposedly is going to go back and get the ones that have been here for a while too, such as HECs or Hodges hangar and Boyce's hangar and things of that have been here for a while. King doesn't account because even though he's done improvements to that facility that are built, so his is not as part of that. It's these privately owned hangars that are here, a part of it.
And looking,
that also is going to affect. It's going to turn out it will affect SYI hangars and area, because I imagine SYI hangars will just pass down whatever happens to. I imagine in their lease down there, they probably got to triple that lease with SYI hangars. So whatever happens on that.
and watching the Rules and Legislative Committee from the county the other night, Ms. Clanton, of course, is retiring in the middle of her term, and she's leaving at the end of February. So they were interviewing folks last night that they might appoint to serve for about 6 months until the election takes place for somebody else to kind of fill in on that position. So those folks that are going to run and the folks that might take over, but it shouldn't change the process at all. It should be exactly, hopefully it's going to be a smooth transition, because they've got all of those folks are in that tax assessor's office right now. So I wanted to just let you know that.
Alluded to contacting the state about it as well. So I don't know if, if trying to get the state involved or what she's looking for as far as all that. So that's just something that's going to be out there. It's going to stir up some things, because all of a sudden you're going to have these guys that are, have been, even the ones that have been here. I mean, I think Hodges HEC was probably built.
Oh, yeah.
Pushing almost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, I know she's not, no way she's going to go back on us.
That's exactly, that's right.
All of a sudden an expense that hadn't been there. Same thing for Boyce and others. I mean, it was something we weren't expecting. So it's liable to garner attention.
Yeah, they don't have any experience in that, but they sure should get some from the state and things.
That's correct.
Okay. Wow. I guess we'll hear about that.
Yes, I hope to learn a little bit more. I told her I know how to fly airplanes, but I don't know anything. So
Yeah.
I don't want to step into anything. I'll just give a name. I'll just put a title up there. I got a phone number if you want to call her.
Do we report to the state each year the N numbers that are in, I mean, we mostly
report to FAA through a subcontractor. GCR has developed a website called basedaircraft.com.
Right.
And we have to update that data with FAA, but we do not do it with the state. But the state encourages it, pushes it, saying it's got to be done.
Right. Okay, well, construction update.
I asked Matt to step up on that, and I'll fill in any blanks that maybe left out on that.
Okay, all right. We'll start off the federal tower program. So we've reached out to TDOT. We're requesting, last week it was, set a meeting with them before we get everything submitted as part of the tower application process. We've run the numbers over and over again, and I think we're at a point where really close to what the margin needs to be. And there's not a whole lot we can do to massage that anymore. So we're ready to get that submitted. We need to get TDOT together to have a meeting before all that gets turned in. Waiting to hear back from them. ALP, again, this is another one that's kind of a FAA TDOT hang up right now. FAA over in the Memphis ADO they're down to one planner, and this has been an issue for a year plus now with them staffing and all, and it's really put a drag on a lot of the planning side of projects and stuff. So, FAA did request some additional evaluation of the RPZ off the north end of the runway for future road realignment and things of that nature, and how that's all going to fit in. So, waiting to get that meeting with them and TDOT put together, and then that's going to affect, our alternative layouts that we get into. Hopefully, not much from what we've already developed. I mean, I think there's kind of a limited what we can do out there, but. Once we get that done and that all kind of signed off, our 60% threshold is complete. And that way we can really dive into ultimate developments. And Paul, I know that's what you're excited about, is doing the drawings of where the things are going and, just kind of out of the forecasting.
Once we get that far, then it would really help with the RFP situation.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just, TDOT's got very strict milestones of how you can go on this right now. So we just been hesitant to jump into too much until we got finalized. So all right, taxiway and run-up pad. That's the the area up here for the run-up pad, and then the taxiway where we've been talking about for the future hangar development. So we're finalizing that for looking at first week of February to get that out to bid. So I'll talk to Lori about that, getting that all set up. But that's the intent with that project, to get that one out and going. The terminal, I think we're waiting on architecture kind of.
Lori and I have been in communication with the architect and getting a new one assigned. The one that was originally did our initial drawings is retired, but we've got to replace it for this particular project and moving forward with what they can bring up there.
Yeah.
First class. First class.
But yeah, one of the things we had to look at there too is what can be federally funded versus what cannot
Yes,
be.
right.
And the majority of it, it's all about ADA
Right.
accessibility. It's about what's
Absolutely.
public use versus private use. So I think really the majority of what's on there is going to fall under
Good.
what can be funded.
Good.
So.
Good.
Okay, so the shade ports and the corporate hangar. So we are working on those right now. We're looking to get those wrapped up so they can have the early March bid date to get everything in system. That should get it before the city. That should get it before TDOT for their funding deadline, and pull a May grant on that.
Just for city's information and the board's information. The shade ports will have to go through the full process as far as approval. The hangar has already been approved. It's part of that 6 million.
Mhm.
It's just getting those necessary numbers to TDOT so that they can initiate that portion of the FAA grant.
Okay.
So that part, but the shade ports, they've been discussed, but have not been presented and that one we needed better numbers.
And I was waiting for a little clarification from them too, because of this isn't necessarily NPE funded, or
This is supposed to be built.
right. So, just checking with them to make sure that everything's good on, their normal process they follow. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, just wait here.
This takes, for some reason, is still leftover bipartisan infrastructure money is what this
Wow.
is. And the reason why it's left over is because they still can't figure it out. I mean, they've been working on, I don't know how many years now, but they still can't figure out the process.
The last round of funding that went to BIL was like an 8-month delay or something like that from when those requests need to be turned in to
Mhm.
when we actually got grants. And that was part of the water line project, is we were blowing and going out there with construction. And I think there was a little confusion on our end too. We thought it had been approved, and it hadn't at the time, but it is now. And, it's, where the grant money should be.
Yes, and this project is to take our balance all this will use all of our balance. We will use every penny of that money that's been set aside for this airport and this project.
Good.
Even if it means getting a little bit more gravel that way, just, I'm going to literally spend every dime they're giving me. I'll hit on MTSU.
Yeah, so MTSU, so as you can see, some little work starting to happen out there. Couple hurdles we got to get through yet, so we're still waiting on our SWIP permit, our notice of construction general permit.
Mhm.
That got delayed a bit because we had to wait through the Corps permitting process, and that hit like right at the end of the year around Christmas, and getting that notice into TDEC for them to go through and approve, give us a construction general permit. Finally got all the signatures on January 5th. So TDEC's doing their review on that right now. It's supposed to be done next Tuesday. So fingers crossed they've not, we already submitted it once and they came back with comments. Everything was addressed on that. I mean, knock on wood, they don't find anything else that could be potentially an issue on that. So, and then also having to go before the city. I think there was a bit of confusion on our team's end as well. I don't want to say it was confusion on the city, but I know at least on our end. We thought that grading permit wise and everything, we had been approved. Sounds like there was a step or two that we had missed as far as getting the plans in for review. And unfortunately too, that also, the requirement is having to have that SWIP completed before that can be done. So reached out, talked about a couple of items too that will need to be addressed. And, we've already started working on that.
Okay.
The goal is to sit down with them hopefully next week.
Good.
And just have all those issues that need to be taken care of, get those done quickly and get that out, expedite that process as quick as possible.
So on that, just a little bit more, just expanding out just a little bit. As far as as you see, the house is gone, the old store is gone, the barn is gone, the shed is gone. And in that shed was a seat separator that was antique. And so MTSU didn't have a home for it. So we were able to with help of Public Works, take it apart or take the building apart enough to get the seat separator out. And it's been donated to the local, to Gary King's museum. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do to clean it up, or if they're just going to pull it out like it is and make sure there's no extra legged animal in there or what to clean it up, put it out. But they will hopefully see that on display out there.
Good.
I talked to actually son-in-law of the Carricks, and he's very pleased about it. He said all the family members tried to figure out how in the world they could do something with it, but nobody had any space or had any room for it. So he was very happy to hear that it was being used for something like that.
Cool. Good.
Also, so what you'll see at MTSU and you'll continue is they'll be cleaning up all that site. You'll see the vegetation going away. That's about as far as they can go. They're going to start a slow burn out there. So there will be some times that they're trying to push it up as far close to the road as they can, just so that they can control with this to make sure that they're not blinding our approach south.
Yeah.
We've got some vegetation we're going to clean up too. We might try to put it in those piles too, but mainly because it's going to look ugly on our part. After they get theirs cleaned up, it's going to make ours look ugly. So we're going to be part of that too. Two more on these other two hangars that we have out here under construction. You have one you see the metal's already going up for the two twin Vanzas that are going out there. And that will be next. The next other step for the Nelson hangar is concrete. And what they're actually waiting for on concrete now, because of bringing in the concrete trucks for the others, they'll be waiting for the ground to either freeze very hard, or they might end up having to wait for the ground to just completely harden up before they can bring those trucks in. So they might be on delay as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
The metal's here for those buildings, but the other one will be completed. They can't do anything anyway because they are both using asphalt for ingress and egress. They're not doing concrete as far as their ramps are concerned. So until such time as the asphalt plants are back up and running, they won't be able to put those down anyway. The other hangars are excited because the water is officially done. Water project's done. Now, has it all been paid for? No. But as far as the tenants are concerned the water's done. There's still a little bit to get to MTSU that we're trying to get some local plumbers to work with us, and they're not responding. I don't know if it's because it's winter time and they've kind of gone into repair mode or and not willing to get out there and dig when it's cold. I don't know what the situation is, but they're, we're gonna have to run some additional pipe for the water's down there very close. That's easy for them to connect. Problem is the sewer is what we gotta move.
Right.
We got the sewer terminated in an area and the water actually crossed over it. We need to abandon that section in place and then expand. We were hoping to work with the contractor to make that happen during the project, but that was out of his scope and too far along to work with. So we're having to step back and we've got the funds available to make that happen. We just got to get it to happen. We got to get some people to respond to us to
Right.
even start the process. And for some reason, they're not wanting to respond to us.
No.
Guess they don't like working the call. That's what I've got. You can go to chairman and
Yeah, I'd forgotten this was on here, so, we have the election of chairman and election of vice chairman. I'll do the election of chairman. You can vote for members that are not present. The rest-
whoa. Looking at you, Mary.
I got a bad feeling that somebody was staring at me. Okay, so I will ask for nominations for chairman.
I nominate the man that's not in the room, Gary Fayard.
I would second that.
Okay, do I have any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, Mr. Fayard, I think you will continue to be the chairman.
It teaches me not to miss these meetings.
Since he isn't in the room, if you'll do the vice chairman, ask for nominations.
Okay, I'll now entertain nominations for election of vice chairman.
Feel pretty good about the decision I made earlier today. I nominate.
you have let me bring this up.
Yeah, I cycle off.
He cycles off, and that's what happened with Helene. Helene was appointed vice chair and then she cycled off before her term was officially up. So keep that in mind, please.
He will come off in July, so he can serve till July, but in July we'll have to elect another vice chair.
Gotta
If you
come
go that
off
route,
completely.
Go ahead.
I do. That's my second. I've been
We're gonna
here
miss
10
you.
years.
Oh,
I'm retired.
oh.
I think we could continue to learn a lot from Mr. Larson in the next 7 months, 6 months. I'd like to stick with my nomination.
There you go.
Second.
Darn it. I saw what you was about to do.
That's quick, Jeff.
You jumped on that real quick. I saw that. Do I hear any other nominations for vice chair?
Please.
Sorry, hearing no others. All in favor for Mr. Larson? Okay.
Very good.
Any other final comments or announcements that anyone has? No? Well, my favorite part of the meeting is always to adjourn. The meeting is adjourned.
Very good.
City Hall ready for snow apocalypse or ice apocalypse?
We're looking at that. We've had a train derailment this week.
I
Of
saw
course, I'm
that.
vice chairman of the Bedford County Railroad Authority, but I didn't have to do anything. And then we had a fire last night at one of our smaller automotive
Oh, no.
facilities. So it didn't damage the properties next door, and it wasn't a large building. It's up on, right up above the street, right, if you're going into town past Walgreens, that main intersection right there.
Christian bookstore is?
Yes, turn
Okay.
left right there, and
Yeah,
that,
okay,
it's down there on the right. Hoodlum's Alley is down
Yeah.
that way and all that, so,
Right.
yeah.
Oh,
But
gosh.
they had one like that. So it was called, I can't remember the name of the business, but Scott gave me a notification last night what was happening and all that stuff.
Nobody got hurt though?
No, thank goodness on both situations, and I think everybody's back in their house. It was denatured alcohol that was in those tankers, I think.
Wow.
Try to do better in
Yeah,
the
but they had to
future.
evacuate 50 families
Oh,
for
my goodness.
half a day or
Fumes and
something
all
like that. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Very.
Scary stuff.
In this snow situation, what do you think? Are we gonna get it?
Man, we were talking because we have FBOs all over from southern in Mississippi all the way up to Ohio.
Ice
And,
and, oh, gosh.
It looks like our Paducah and our Nashville areas icing looks pretty bad.
I didn't know anything.
It really is gonna depend on temperature right at the last minute.
That is like,
But what we're hearing from our aviation weather people are probably not a big snow event. They're talking, what, a week ago, it's gonna be like 20 inches.
6 inches or, yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
Where we are anyway, we think, or at least our aviation guys are telling us that depending on temperature, it's either gonna be a really bad ice event like what we had a few years ago, or it's gonna be a bunch of sleet and nothing.
You see, I always get that cringe when we talk about ice, because I worked for Duck River for all those.
Oh,
years.
yeah.
Duck River Electric, and we were
Yeah.
18, 20 hours a day
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
put lines back up, you know, and trees coming down. After the ice lets go, you know, they'll knock them out again, and, yeah.
What's interesting to me, I was telling Paul this earlier, is we got a place in Middletown, Ohio, right? They're used to this stuff. They get ice and snow all winter long.
Yeah.
All winter long. And it doesn't, our kids get to work, the roads are open. We just aren't mentally prepared, and our infrastructure isn't.
Yeah, people are not used to flying in it, and what about de-icing,
Yeah.
the equipment you have to do that with planes and
So
stuff?
what we do, we do a lot of work up in Nashville at the Nashville airport, both on the airplanes and on the ground support equipment. We've already gone ahead and rented a bunch of hotel rooms right there at the airport. And our guys are planning on just staying the night there.
Preparation.
Yep.
You know,
We
like
get calls all the time. The de-icing equipment is critical.
Basically.
And those are such
Put up money.
complicated,
I mean, not just buying.
bizarre pieces of equipment. They have all sorts of little burners, you know, they run on propane
Yeah,
burners
yeah.
and nozzles, and then they got the diesel engine for the vehicle. It just, it's, everything has to work perfect in order
Of course,
for that
yeah.
to work. So,
Sure.
yeah, so that is a big deal. And then the aircraft, at the gate,
Yes.
the airport doesn't like the APUs running, but our guys in really cold weather and storms like this are allowed to, we come in a couple hours before the captain and the crew get there, we start the APU,
Okay.
and we get everything warmed up, because those systems get cold, so,
Yes.
and all sorts of weird stuff happens with
Oh, yeah.
that. So, yeah, our guys, we're gonna be really busy, no matter what happens.
And see, you just don't realize all that unless you're in that business.
Yeah.
And I'm listening really, and I know what we had to do at Duck River with
Yeah.
diesel
Yeah,
trucks
same
and
kind
all
of thing.
those
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
things we had to do, you
The
know.
preparation days ahead of
Yeah.
time is as much work as, you know.
And if it doesn't happen, you go,
Yeah, we all hope it doesn't happen. You do.
yeah.
And our guys are adrenaline.
Thank you for
junkies
sharing that.
here, yeah.
That's interesting. And like you say, some of those northern airports, they're already ready for it all
Oh,
the
yeah,
time.
they are. Yeah, yeah. Our Ohio
That's like
guys,
school systems in those northern,
Yeah.
well, those kids don't go to school in the wintertime. Of course they do.
Oh.
Thank you for serving, by the way.
Sure,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Lisa, for all you did taking over today in business.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I got a chance to be here today.
No problem.
Yeah, we were in Chicago one year and the first snow came and it was a really, I think it was like 18 inches.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember it was a lot.
Insurance for
But
employees.
it happened on a Friday night. And so then Saturday morning, we had a car come to get us to take us to the mall and the guy was fussing. The roads were clear. There was not a bit of snow, ice, nothing on the roads.
Yeah.
And the guy was fussing because the roads crew hadn't done a good enough job. And I'm like, I mean, if this was in Shelbyville, I'd be in the house.
Oh, yeah.
We wouldn't be going to the mall, the mall would be
Yeah,
open.
right.
So, we were going to a movie theater. I'm like, we wouldn't be doing that.
State law was less than 20 years is exempt from property tax on real property.
Good job.
If it's like working hard, they would have to property tax. And so they just kind of bundled that expense into the millings. And, you know, then the deal was at the end of the 20 years or whenever, you have to get
Was just.
levy.
I'll say if we didn't have any problems, you know, 20 or 30 of us together and all that stuff like that.
I'm not sure how you.
Babies, they waited till.
The value of their improvement to the land.
Their granddaughters.
And take
They
it
was
at
in
the end of the month.
both of them.
That's about.
They was especially waiting until.
That's why it's surprised us. As far as the city's concerned,
So
that
everybody's
county-
doing good. It's the
It's not
local here.
The city gets a percentage of that. I don't know.
My son, I think, he's the also pro truck instructor, been that for years. And he lives in
Small town, I
Oklahoma.
guess, I don't know.
So his children.
Well, the solution to it is,
Grandchildren are living over there.
to bundle the
My daughter, her husband.
tax on real property into the land levy, so that the county. You shouldn't be paying on an improvement that the city, that the government entity is gonna take.
That's why I was, that was one of the discussions I was hoping that Ginger wanted to address.
Jenny Lane is, yeah, they are gates up
But I asked along,
Yeah, all pretty close.
at least that's two, you know, Ginger's behind. So,
I think golf.
And then these 6 spaces that Colonel wants, they're over there, right?
He said, let's just go to that. Like, see, you see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eat out the crowd.
Here's just lower down on the list. In fact, you said, take the list, out there, areas, maintenance will be addressed before we
Weather looks
start tearing something.
the next
Except
7 or 10 days. It's bring this call. Well,
It's gonna be, it's gonna hold it.
Now I hope Eric is, I'm hoping Eric is the guy that has my bank statements.
Even that.
Because it's his stuff that was on top of that.
She's on there, not prepared, like water pipes freezing, like all this kind of thing like that. Good talking to you guys. Thank you, Paul. Good job, lady. Appreciate it.
Eric needs to change his name, get the guy down so we can reappoint him if he's blind. Maybe his twin brother.
Yeah. Gosh, we're gonna miss you. That's right. We've lost so many and it's happening on our other boards and stuff. Oh, really? Yeah. People are aging.
Yeah.
And some of them been there for a long time and know exactly what's going on. I mean, they're volunteer and, you know, I understand that.
I look forward to seeing. I love aviation. My hometown, I want to see this airport do well.
Well, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen here in 5, 10 years.
Yes.
The money that we've gotten from Congressman Desjardins and all the things with MTSU and we've got soccer fields in Shelbyville, $5 million grant. We're working on that with our rec center. And we just got so many projects. So I probably will run for one more. They'd asked me to run for county mayor, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna stick with the city and hopefully get elected again. How long get the term? Just 2 more years.
It's 4 years. Okay. Yeah.
So my term will be up, December 20, the new mayor takes office, but the election is November 3rd, I think, this year. Okay. For city, for county mayor, it's in August. They're having to pull their papers down.
That's why I started. seeing
December
all that.
22nd, they could pull the papers and gotta have them, I think, we got, see, our county mayor is decided not to run again.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we've got 7 people already pulled papers for that.
Good.
Some of them will probably, drop out. And then we've got, new sheriff.
That's right.
All of them and I grew up together.
Yeah.
So, he
He was
decided not to.
Long time ago too, wasn't it?
Sir, he was pleased, of Shelbyville for 30 years.
Yeah, that's how I.
So he's retiring. And then I just talked about Rhonda Clanton. She's been up at the assessor's office for all these years.
Wow.
And so they're trying to do something now. She just decided all of a sudden, of course, Randy, her husband, worked for Shelbyville Power.
Yeah.
And he retired last year. So they want to travel and do things, but I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And so, and we'll have the commissioner, Greg Vick.
Yeah.
He's been with us for a while. He's decided not to run again.
It's gonna be a sea change.
The Muslims,
Yeah.
yeah, and for our county and our city, we've got so many things going, but go forward. And we'll get some good people on there. I think we're gonna get some good people. We just, for the people who are are gonna be placing the votes though. It's really that everybody needs to get their face out there and everybody gets to know them and all those kind of things, 18-hour days. People don't realize when I ran for city mayor, even though I was with Duck River all those years.
Yeah.
And then volunteered for all these committees and stuff on library and fly and all those kind of things all those years. My dad was a pastor and I was with the Nazarene Church and led singing for 15 years, been there 40-something years. So you're known, but then some people say they just moved in here and they say, who is that guy?
Yeah.
So you're out putting up with a pair of short pants on and t-shirt, putting up signs and this stuff. Is that guy from mayor?
I'm just smiling. Yep, yep.
Good to see you. You have a good day, okay? So you got your 501c3. We have got so many 501c3s forming. I know I talked to Jody at the Fly last night. We've got, Ms. Davis with the 5K, they split off from the partnership and got their only now 501c3. And then, of course, partnership is a 501c6. And that can get into politics. And they have now got a PAC group for these elections that are taking place. And I think they got $100,000 or more that they'll, and I think they were involved in our last city council meeting, gave one of the people $30,000 to run.
That may be why they split.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, because she was more into events and she's from Ohio, great lady. Mike and Beth, they bought the buildings from us. Bedco, they call the company, and there's other investors involved in. But the Grindstone Cowboy and those two buildings right there, that's the ones we were talking about. Lisa mentioned this morning that we had. When I became mayor, they said, Mayor, we own those. Of course, I had studied taxes and all the different things business-wise that takes care of it, but I didn't know about everything. And so they said, we got those three buildings. We own that. I said, we own them. I said, we don't need to be in the real estate business. And I said, let's go to look at them. Went and looked at them and gosh, the roof was falling in on them. There was all kinds of water damage inside. Of course, the exterior walls, we want historically, we've got a historic commission too. We want to keep that. That's a 1917 building, Gazette building. And the Grindstone and Bedco and those folks have just done a fine job on that. They still don't have occupancy on the second floor or the rooftop. But the first floor has been operational. And when we closed that street, not permanently, we made it pedestrian only for the time being. And if we ever get our river walk done, that we're going to do, then we've got money. We're trying to get more money. The more you delay a project, the more it's going to cost. So we would like to get that river walk along the edge of the river, get that decorative, get our overlook built. That'll go out right past the dam, get all that done. The Fly, we've already extended that parking lot, added more parking spaces to help on the parking for the square for these businesses. All of those things will come together right there, but we're working all over the city too. We got $5 million grant that we had to match $2.5 million of it for the soccer field. We don't have a soccer complex. We're putting that at our rec center, and our rec center is outstanding. I mean, it's used by everybody. And, but we didn't have the soccer complex. So we got that going. The MTSU project up here. We've got some business that are looking at. We're trying to put grocery stores here. We need them out toward the east part of town. I call it going toward Tullahoma. We don't have anything out that way. And we got 4-lane highway there. And then we need 41A Unionville Highway. That needs to be 4-lane all the way from about where the church is. That's where you're at out there.
That's why I said I didn't want that swing property developed until they widen that road, because everybody that lives there is gonna have to drive somewhere else to go to work and go to school.
And that's what we have said, that same thing. And we're limited to what we can do as far as the city. You can get into all kind of liability things, but we have to, from our planning commission, the rules and regulations and the state, TDOT and all that. And TDOT has kind of held that project up, and we didn't have schools. Now they've donated 20 acres, to build a school
Where?
in that property they're talking about developing out there. Then we don't have our fire department, all of those things. And we're trying to say, hey, let's get this done. Let's get this done. And on the highway, the bypass was supposed to go on over to the Unionville Highway at one time to come out of El Bethel. Where the bypass goes over to Tullahoma, it was supposed to do that. One man held it up with a gun. Said, you're not going across my property. That's what I was told by Pat Marsh years ago. But we put in for, and the first thing when I said, we've got to do something out that way. Me just coming on from Jennings Lane 41A, that's a problem sometimes during the day. So it's not a big problem for me. I've got the time most of the time. I try to go ahead of time if I'm going somewhere, but the Helene hit over in East Tennessee and North Carolina, and all of the money that they had appropriated for us to do something out there and some other cities and things, they said, folks, the money, and I said, go get those folks taken care of. They didn't have roads.
Mm-mm.
And I said, take care of those folks first, or not just me, but the whole city council and the whole group. All of us, I think all the cities and everybody agreed, let's go take care of East Tennessee first. But it's on the radar. But they're coming back with that project
I have a question.
next month.
Well, it's not the project per se that bothers me. It's the lack of infrastructure to support a project like that. But my other concern is the stuff that they're proposing to build.
Yes.
You know, I own some rental property.
Right.
And we used to own some fourplexes.
Uh-huh.
So, and I got rid of all of those and went with single family. I've
Okay.
got a bunch of, you know,
Uh-huh.
modular double wides on 1 acre lots outside the city limits. But, you know, we owned, a fourplex. Actually, we own 3 fourplexes and an old house that had been cut into 5 units inside the city limits. And the demographics on the kind of people who rent things that size, the 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom size, you need to have on-site management. And that project has a whole bunch of stuff, you know, planned out. That's 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom townhouses without garages. The demographic who is going to rent that, because that's what's going to happen. An investor will buy it
Right.
and put it out for rent, and they're not going to be on site.
No.
You know, that kind of thing should not be approved unless it is a development with on-site property management.
And see-
People are not buying that kind of townhouse. If you want to build townhouses, then build upscale stuff.
And see, we are limited. I'm talking about the municipal city. We are limited on whether we can say that or not. They can sue our britches off if we say you can't build that. We've got to have in our planning, and that's what we've been doing for the last 3 years, changing that planning code to say that we want to update, you got to have this. We had 10% green space when I came into office. We are now up to 30% green space. So that cuts down. But all the developers looking at, you know it as well as I do. And even in your property purchases, that fourplex, you could probably buy that better than you could buy 4 different lots and have houses on it. They can make more money with the number of doors they can put on it. Now, we're having problems at Union Station out there. That was she's probably 30-year-old project. They were supposed to have commercial buildings and all that kind of stuff out in front of Union Station. They got 1 entrance, 1 exit out there. They're still building in there. The guy went bankrupt, and then I think people just missed it when they decided to, and what a developer will do sometimes, well, I'm not going to build that part of it. You build that part of it. So you got all these different ones looking at it that way. Parking on the street. You got 2-car garages. You got 2 parking spaces in front of that in some of those places out there. And then you've got cars in the street. So they got 6 or 7 cars in one house. My fire trucks, City of Shelbyville fire trucks can't get through there in a fire. My garbage trucks can't get through there. And I am raising sand on these new developments. Not only do we want to make them like you're talking about, infrastructure wise, parking and all of those things like that. But we want to make sure that from safety standpoint, fire protection, garbage pickup, all of those things is taken care of. So we're changing those codes as we go. But on that one, it's just been held up and held up and held up. And we got out here on Richdale, and I won't get into all of it, but Richdale, which is right off of Fairfield Pike, the city of Shelbyville had to pay for repaving Fairfield Pike when they built the school out there. And of course, the city, even though they'll say the city's not giving money for schools, we are. But anyhow, we repaved the whole Fairfield Pike, but it's still 2 lane. And we redid the entrance, exits, the bypass, put a red light down there, did all of those kind of things. But now we've got somebody with 57 acres over behind Richdale, which is R2, which is a single family dwelling with a 10,000 square foot lot. That's all that's in there. Well, they came up, 6 months ago, I guess it was. One of the contractors that I've known forever when I was with Duck River Electric and all that, they want to go in there and they want to put R3 and R4, which is what we're talking about. Apartments, townhouses, those kind of things. And we just turned it down because of traffic. We knew traffic wise, and the state of Tennessee backs us up on that. That is a bypass out there too. They didn't have an exit on that end, but now one of our business owners in Shelbyville has now got that property annexed on the bypass that was part of her family farm. But we did not. We approved the commercial part of it, but we did not approve the residential. So we're putting things off. You know, if it doesn't meet the requirements and traffic, if we've got any of those things that we can say no to, we're going to say no. But we can get sued. The city of Shelbyville got sued for $10 million because of one rock quarry about 15, 20 years ago.
Rock quarry.
A rock quarry out on Railroad Avenue.
Okay, I don't know where everything is.
Yeah,
'cause I've only-
Yeah, Railroad Avenue's out behind the high school. That road that's out behind the high school runs right next to the railroad
Yeah,
track.
because I
going
take
to War
food
Truck.
over to the Tony
Yeah,
Rice Center,
yeah,
so I know
yeah,
railroad,
yeah.
but where's the rock?
But because the planning commission, because they would not let them, there was a new owner and all of, there was language and somebody made some statement in the planning commission or something, and they sued for $10 million. And won.
So they wanted to build a rock quarry, or there's
They
one
wanted to
already-
expand it to an asphalt plant and a rock quarry and all those kind of things at that point. But all of these things, that's just like the property out there, the swing property. He was my tight end when I was quarterback in school, and great guy. His mother hauled me along with him to every football game. And Frankie is not raising sand about selling the property. He says, Randy, if y'all sell it, I mean, if y'all approve it, that's fine. If you don't approve it, that's fine too. They don't need the money. But the developer wants to make the money. Huh?
I thought the property had already been sold.
I think the property is, you may be right, but the last word I got, it's all hinging on the development. It's all hinging on the development. Whether money changes hands or what, and you may be right. It may have already been sold, but I haven't been told that and I haven't asked.
I must have misunderstood
Oh, yeah.
and assumed the developer had. Well,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong.
Uh-huh.
I would like to see development
Right.
in
Right.
Shelbyville and Bedford County.
Right.
It's, I don't want to come across as one of these people who moved in here from California and want to see things
Right.
done
Right.
like it
Right.
is out there.
Right.
But it's very sad to me to see the desperate need in this county for housing that the locals can afford. And note that I'm not saying affordable housing, because to me, that's code word for government subsidized
Yes,
housing.
yes. And we've got a lot of that in Shelbyville. And they don't have on-site management.
And it infuriates
Owned
me.
by billionaires and stuff like that in California or Arizona or wherever. Yeah.
Well, the stuff that's the housing authority, I assume, owns it, like those great duplexes that are on Lane Parkway.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, we have the Shelbyville Housing Authority that oversees that, and we have management in place for that. And that's government subsidized housing.
And it's kept
But,
clean.
but these government subsidized where it's privately owned, then they're not, that's where Bedford County, or Bedford Manor, they call it, out off of off of Madison Street. Those people have just gathered together. You may have seen in the newspaper where they have formed a group where they, something maybe whether it's a plumbing issue or whether it's maybe a heating issue or whatever the situation is, they don't have anybody to complain to because it's owned by some guy. But that guy got government money, and the people that live there's some people that don't pay a penny. They don't pay a penny. And they don't have money to take care of it, or they don't want to take care of it. It's supposed to be taken care of by anybody. So we have a mixture of all of those kind of things. Where I live at Garden Gate, off of Jennings Lane, we got $500,000 and $600,000 homes in there. Okay, there are R3s. I mean, R1s. 15,000 square feet or more, half acres lots, what mine is. Mine was built in 2017. I sold all my land at the lake. I was at Normandy Lake when I was up there. The property right across from us, if you come out of Garden Gate right onto Jennings Lane and turn left, come down to 41A. All
Where
right.
Boyce is building a house right now.
Where who's building?
Well, those 6 lots that belong
No,
to
no,
Boyce.
that's on my side of Jennings Lane. That's, Mr. Boyce or somebody that's got 4 lots down there they bought from the Church of Christ down there. They bought that and they're building on it now. But I'm talking about right across from us, all of that property that was behind the Tillett, we call them the Tillett houses. They had government contracts for the roadways and all those things when I was growing up.
Yeah, the 2 white
Yeah,
houses.
the 2 white houses.
On the corner.
All of that property back there was going to be developed by a guy from Georgia, Athens, Georgia,
Mhm.
Mr. Ross. And one of our, Ms. Marks was one of the real estate people, all of that. And they were going to build 130, and I don't know, I can't remember exact numbers, 134 homes there on 110, 12 acres, something like that.
Now, that's the horse farm, and didn't it belong to Dr. Baum?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
All right. Well, they wanted to come in and they wanted to build on that, but they did not want to build R1. So the people in my subdivision, Brian Cruz's mother and daddy, live facing Jennings Lane there. Well, all that's R1. Everybody got up in arms about, you can't build, they wanted to put R2s on there, which is single family, 10,000 square feet. So that's a downsize from where our houses are. But the houses in the Dow Street, all of that is R2. But these folks just got up in arms and said, we don't want it. And traffic wise, coming out on Jennings Lane, coming out on 41A, all of those people stood up. And one of the ladies that lives in my subdivision got people together. They all signed a petition, over 100 of them. When they came before the city council, the planning commission can approve it. But the folks that live there can come, and who do I work for? I work for the citizens that are here. And I work for the people that got me in office that have lived here forever. And I'm not going to put a burden on people who've lived in Cloverdale for 30 years and all those people like that right there. When it comes before the council, we can say no. We can say no.
Well, I went to that
You
planning
did.
commission meeting.
Yeah.
And, and remember Jody Lambert was
Yeah.
speaking because the developer's
Right.
lawyer couldn't come or
Right.
something.
Right.
And I caught Jody later and I said, listen, if they make this a 55+ development so that there's no kids
Yeah.
and there's nobody going to jobs,
Right.
and it won't be a low load on the sewer system because a lot of elderly people are single and it's just people who wanted to downsize out of the big houses on the other. I said, if you change it to a 55+, you might be able to make this work. And then I never heard anything more.
Well, see, they can't make the money. And I would love that. I would probably sell my home in Garden Gate. Denny Hastings has one, which is pretty nice, but I don't like where it's located. Right on Midland Road, he's got that 55+.
Fieldstone, is that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, the homes are beautiful and all that, but you don't own the property that's sitting on.
Oh,
I don't like that.
No.
I don't like that. So I have asked all of our developers, local developers, of course, the developer for what you're talking about out there is Old South, which is from Murfreesboro. And that's where
the one on Jennings Lane.
the one on Ross was from Athens, Georgia, that gentleman. But the one Old South that's looking at swing property, unless it's been somebody else that's gone into it, but the Old South is the one that I know of. And that's Mr. Floyd from Murfreesboro.
Mhm.
And they're building, well, Global Manners is a different one out on Fairfield Pike and out there, but Old South is building all of the townhouses right at the end of our Parks and Recreation on Horse Mountain Road. That's Old South. They're building all of those right there. And they're pretty nice and all that. But what I'm getting at is when you talk about building that 55+, we've got to put in all of our plans, and Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer and everybody else has got to put in their plans. If we build it 55 plus, we don't have to worry about schools. We don't have to worry about those kind of things. But this won't go that way because he can't make the money. That's what the developers, they're in it for the money. And they'll be gone 10 years from now. The county's fighting right now. They want to build these things out in the county. And they want to put step systems in. Who's going to take care of that step system? See, Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer, we make sure in the city limits of Shelbyville that we take care of the sewer. It costs $5 million for us to put sewer to MTSU. We got a grant for it, but it costs $5 million just to bring that sewer line from Whiteside Road over to the backside of MTSU.
Well, I have a question. And that is, there's people that own property that face Main Street, 231 North,
Uh-huh.
who would like to build, but they need to have sewer, and the sewer line is out here, but, their property is actually in the county. Why can't they get annexed into the city?
They can't. We just annexed 10.36 acres right up here off Harts Chapel Road. And they had a little chunk of land that they couldn't, it wasn't, it's not on that map, but they had a chunk of land, Wilhelm's, I believe it is. And they had a chunk of land that they couldn't get access to it. And it belonged to the Landers family. And it was like a half acre stuck in where that 10.36 was, so it wasn't accessible.
Yeah.
And so they have just annexed both of them, and the Landers family donated that property to these people. All of those kind of things worked out. And our chairman of our planning commission is the Landers. That's his family. But it's up on Harts Chapel Road, which is on the other side of the road.
What's going to happen with the cemetery on Harts Chapel Road? And the chapel itself, that parcel is too small to do anything with.
Yeah.
And that's
county, right now it's county, so it hadn't been annexed into city. So my recommendation, if we run into a cemetery, something like that, is we've got cemeteries behind houses in Shelbyville that I didn't even know of when I took office, but we want to make sure that is still reverenced, and we put fences around it, and we make sure that someone is mowing it, taking care of it, keeping it up and all that. I've even got one in Garden Gate subdivision. We've got, right as you turn in the Garden Gate and take a left right there where Billy and Margaret not Hicks, but anyhow.
Billy and Margaret, but their last name was
But there's a Billy and Margaret Hicks. I worked with Margaret at Duck River Electric,
Okay.
but they're on a different place. But these people have a cemetery right in behind their home there too. And so we have to, if it comes if it's annexed in the city, we will do something about it. Now, the county, I don't know what kind of rules they have on that. They wanted me to run for county mayor, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay with the city if I get elected again.
Do you term out? Term limits?
I termed my 4 years, and I was elected in 22 in November and took office in December of 2022. And my term will be up in December of 26 this year.
So they're 3-year terms?
So we'll,
four-year
four-year term.
terms.
And so we'll have an election. Right now, they're picking up papers for any county offices because the county election will be in August.
But are
But
you
the
limited
municipal and
to
the
2
governor.
terms, or
I'm
are you limited to 2 terms? Like if you
No,
got reelected, how many times can you be reelected?
Forever. Right now, the way the city charter is, you could do that forever. And Wally Cartwright, who was there before me, was, I think, 12 years. But I am right now, unless the good Lord changes it, I'm just going by what he's leading me on. That's the reason I've decided not to run for county mayor, is one more term. I know what my age is and all those kind of things, and I've got things that I would like to do. But, the mayor of Shelbyville, do you have any idea what the mayor of Shelbyville makes?
It's probably.
$18,000.
Yeah.
You know how many hours of work? See, we have a city manager supposed to be doing it every day, but that's just not the way it works. Is our city is growing all that, and I have no complaint on that. The Lord's blessed me over the years, and my family and all of us, we're in good shape. But I'll run one more term if it's up to the people and the Lord's will. I'll run one more term, and then that's all I'm looking for. I'm 75 now. So, I had to put me right at 80, and Wally was 86 when he decided not to run, and I ran and won last time. So,
I'm 70, so I understand what you're saying. I'll
Yeah.
be 71 next month.
yeah.
Well, so I have a question about the bypass, and then I want to say something more about the development, but, you know, we own the property that had belonged to Mr. Baker.
Okay.
Your Baker, you know, across the road from
Yeah.
Brad's Market.
Yeah.
And that bypass, you know, the house next door to me, that's Jackie Cantor.
Right. Yeah.
Jackie and Kevin.
The Cantors,
Ray.
yeah.
And,
Her sister lives up the street from you.
and one of her sisters was married to one of the Baker boys before he passed away.
Yes, Kenny Baker, and that's Janet Baker that lives up the street from me, about 4 or 5 houses up from me, yeah.
But, this is around 2018. And I had gotten a letter in the mail from an architectural survey company saying, you know, that they had been commissioned by the state to come out and do an archaeological survey looking for historic artifacts and Native American sites along the proposed route of the bypass extension and the alternate route of the bypass extension.
Right.
And, you know, looking into it, I discovered that my property and Jackie's property were on the alternate proposed route for the bypass extension.
Right.
And, but if you look at when the initial proposals were made in the 90s, Union Station didn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, if they want to bring the thing around and take it all the way down to 64,
Yes.
it was wide, I mean, you know, like
Yeah.
Baker's property,
Right.
60 acres.
Yeah.
And there was nothing across the road. Well,
Right.
you know, now there's all of that development across the road.
Right.
But, you know, poor Jackie called me,
How you doing? Good.
like I say, this is 2018, and she was just flipping out because they had just built a barn and this proposed route would come right through her barn, right behind their new
Yeah,
house. I mean,
yeah.
it's like this far from their house. And then that lot that was on the other side of her, which belonged to James Farrer. And now there's, you know, a house on
Right.
that. And, the primary route is the route out in El Bethel where you're saying the guy said no
Right.
way, Jose.
Right.
You know, so what is the status of this thing?
It's dead in the water. It is completely dead in the water. I have gone to Pat and Shane Reeves and Pat Morris multiple times, and I said, please just put us on the radar. And our city manager is a friend of Pat and them. He was with the city of Fayetteville as far as the city manager over there. Pat's from Fayetteville originally. And we all have said, put us back on the map. We need that. We've got so much traffic on Shaw Road and Jennings Lane and all of those kind of things. And instead of taking those roads and trying to see if the county can expand, they don't have the funds and all those kind of things. I said, we need that bypass. Well, for right now, it's just, I mean, our name's out there. We want it. We would do anything we could to try to help them to do it. But
They need a new route.
I know, oh, yeah, yes, but
What's the story
I mean,
of the
just,
guy-
I have got so many needs, I've got 1,000 needs in this city. If we just had people that would say yes, or if we would, you know, if we could get this done or get that done, or if the county and city would work together on certain things and all those, you know, all kinds of
It
different
used to
issues.
be Metro.
Yeah, yeah, well,
But
but
please
it's
tell me-
dead right now. It's dead. There's no funds available for it. There's no, they don't have any kind of I don't think they have any kind of a survey or any kind of, I don't think so, because it changed, you know, when that guy didn't want it to come through,
How did he stop them?
done. He said, you will not come on my property. And I
Is
agree.
that his name or he held him up with a gun?
That's right. I mean, it was physically a gun. That's what he said. You come on my property. And when I worked for Duck River Electric, I remember you had to go to people's houses before you ran an electric line to get to their next door neighbor's house.
Mhm.
And you had to get their approval
Mhm.
because a man's property, that's his kingdom, and woman, that's your kingdom. And we don't want to do that. But working together, I don't think we would have a problem to get it out there. I've got a couple of people who own a lot of property, and they keep saying, you know, we want it done, but we want it done this way so it makes our property more valuable for a development right on this side of the bypass or this right here. So we've got all of those things still in the background, but the funds are just not available in the state right now to do that bypass.
So
That's,
You know-
that's what I know.
we have a Civil War earthworks on the back of our property and
Yeah.
Jackie's.
Yeah.
You know, one of those, because I guess they were all around
Yeah.
the city.
Yeah. Yeah, there were sites all around. We put up a monument or a historical marker right there in front of Pope's Cafe of a Union battalion coming right up North Main Street. And if you go uptown, you look at it and see it was a Union group of soldiers. See, part of Bedford County was Southern.
Confederate, yeah.
Yeah, and then the city was Union
Mhm.
here in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, the whole state was
Yeah,
divided.
yeah.
Well, you know, I would like to see, and the swing property would be good for it, I
Yeah.
think. Little villages where you've got
Oh, yeah.
mixed use.
Yeah,
Because see,
I'd love to see it too.
I asked the folks at the Piggly Wiggly one time,
Uh-huh.
I don't know how we got into this conversation, but I mean, you know, because I don't think I would have said, how do you guys stay in business? You know, because this is really kind of a old school
Yeah.
store. Well, the answer is their client base is in your neighborhood and people can get there
That's right.
with golf carts
That's
and
exactly,
power chairs
that's exactly,
and not have to get out on the
that's
road.
exactly right.
So wouldn't it be a beautiful thing to have a mixed use development where you had, you know, and like I said, I don't mind the idea of, you know, townhouses and whatnot, but they need to be high end enough that nobody is going to buy them for a rental. And that there needs to be a elementary school integrated in there, and there needs to be shopping integrated in there, and it needs to be a self-contained little village.
And that's what Union Station was supposed to be. They were supposed to have a grocery store. They were supposed to have all commercial property right past Brad's Market. All of that was supposed to be commercial property and commercial property following those two lanes down through there.
Mhm.
That is what I have been told. That's the way Mr. Parker, I think, went bankrupt in that process. But all of that was supposed to be done. But it wasn't. And I would love to see the same thing you're talking about. Out east of town, our people in Moretrace and Bell Buckle and Normandy are going to Tullahoma to grocery shop and to shop. We don't have clothing stores. We don't have all those kind of things. I've been trying to get a shopping center out here on the Matusik property, right past where the raceway is on Peacock Lane. You know, you turn right and go to the back of the school over there. The last red light before you get out of town coming this way.
Well, I know where Peacock Lane is.
You know where,
'cause that's how
you know
I go.
Morelia, you know where Morelia is?
Yeah, I know
Okay,
that. Yeah,
okay,
I
all right,
take Peacock
Okay,
Lane to shop
Raceway,
and go.
Raceway, the next property there is the Matusik property.
Okay,
Oh, it was a Simmons property, and Mr. Matusik he was a school teacher when I went to school, and he married Carolyn Simmons, and Mr. Simmons ran Shelbyville Lumber Company, and I owned all the properties around here and all that. But that property right there would be prime property for a shopping center, Publix or something like that, a big shopping center. When you get into those kind of situations like that, they were going to build the new school there.
what school?
The one that they built on Fairfield Pike. We got a
Okay.
4-lane highway there and all those kind of things. We would have broadened Peacock Lane, all of that intersection in Midland Road would have been done and all that. But when you want $50,000 an acre or $100,000 an acre or $150,000 an acre, right now, the city of Shelbyville is looking to build a fire department, police department, and I have told the city council, when you go and point toward a piece of property, what's going to happen to it?
Yeah.
They want $340,000 an acre for property for us to build a fire and police department. Our fire department and police department was built in the 1950s. We got people sleeping on top of one another down at the fire department. But
So they show their hand, the city council can't keep their mouth shut and they show their hand.
well, they say, we want it here and we want it there, and they're taking away a softball field from kids that are playing out there behind Victory Baptist Church and all that stuff. I said, that is not where we need to be, but you'll get one or two that say, this is what we want to do and all those kind of things. So you're working with that group, and they should be listening, just like I do to the citizens of Shelbyville. They should be listening to their ward. What the ward, there's 6 council wards, and they should be listening. What does the ward say? But then we get into those big decisions of building a police and a fire, and the police and the fire department, our fire chief especially. Hey, let's do it right now. Well, see, I got into office and we had things that had been put off 30, 40 years that we had to start addressing. Flood pumps. We just now got them delivered. And when I first took in office, the flood pumps down there are operating at 30%, 40%, 50%. They've been there 70 years. We got floodgates down there, but if that underground flume system, if we got a 16-inch rain, we flood the fire department, police department, and all that Big Springs area down there, just like I've got pictures of it from years ago. And so I said, we're going to do that. And we had some ARP funds. I said, we're going to put those aside for that. And we've already paid for the pumps. But now we got to get them installed. So we're waiting for a non-rainy season this spring or this summer and get those pumps installed and get those replaced. It's $3.5–4 million project right there. So we've got all kinds of projects around the city. I'm like you. I'd love to see the little villagey things, have a little shop in there. I go to some of these places around Franklin and all that, and they've got like another little city out from Franklin. And you got, all those things. I'd love to see all that. And we're working on it. I'm working on it. We're trying to work plans. We're trying to increase the codes of how you build that 30% green space. We even may go up to, I think Nolansville's gone up to 45%. That takes away property they can build on, but that makes that developer say, well, I can't do anything with that property, but we might get a developer that'll say, I can build some R2 houses in there. I can build some R3 nice townhomes and things like that. So all of that it's not all politics. It's just money. It's money. And you talk about the Native American thing. We just redid Dairy Street, the sidewalks, and we're redoing the whole thing of Dairy Street. But coming off of Depot Street up there, right at the end of where you come out of the Shelbyville, off of the square there, where the Time Gazette office used to be. If you turn left right there, we've just redone that street, all sidewalks, all the drainage, repaved that street and all that. I think there were 21 letters I had to send to different Native American tribes and sign to make sure that there was no burial grounds there or if we disturbed anything or anything like that. Because you talked about that on your property a while ago. Have you got another question for me? Oh, well, good.
Well, it's just fascinating because, like I said, we've only actually been back in Tennessee for 5 years.
Right.
My family roots are over in Murray County, so I know practically nothing about Bedford County, but I want to learn more about it. I want to feel integrated here, and I want to.
And you are, yeah. You've taken a position here trying to help our airport and all those kind of things like that, and I appreciate that. Those volunteers, and I meant that from my heart this morning when I said those volunteers on all those committees that we have that make those decisions, and I want them to think through it. And I will call their hand that let's all think through before we make a decision. And then we get things like Paul's talking about, the unleaded fuel, all those things that are thrown at us that we hadn't planned for, that you got to deal with now. But the MTSU thing, we caught a lot of flack on that. But the MTSU was a positive for Shelbyville. Putting that here was positive. But I got people saying they're going to dump fuel out in my farmland. They're going to do this. Most of them were in the county, but some of them were in the city. But, when you do those kind of things, when you're in office or you're the decision maker and the 6 council people, and I only vote when it's a tie vote to break the tie. But when you make those decisions, you're trying to see what is best for Shelbyville. And I've been here all my life, except for my years in naval aviation during the Vietnam War. But
Are you a naval aviator?
Yeah, I was an aviator. I was an aviation electronics technician.
Okay.
And I was on board a USS Saratoga aircraft carrier, went overseas on her, right out of high school.
My cousin was on the Forrestal when it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, the Forrestal, the Forrestal and the Saratoga and the FDR, all of those were the same class of ship.
Well, the people.
But Murray County, you was talking about Murray County, they've got problems right now. Water. They were supposed to build a dam looks like we have at Normandy. That's where I live with my family and raised my kids. They shut it down because of snail darter or some mussel or something.
Which was made up.
Whatever the reason was. Now they're hurting. So did you see what the council just voted? 150% water increase. Price of water in Columbia, 150% over the next 5 years. Why? Because they still won't build the dam. Now they're looking at getting another water intake below where they are on the Duck River. And part of the water that's going over there is going underground. They can't figure out where it's going to. So, you know, we have those in Tennessee, and we have those, and it goes. And then they're looking at, this is crazy. They're looking at, who would have thought this in Tennessee, but we're just growing. People want to come to Tennessee. The weather, easy to get to the coast, all kinds of different things, transportation, whatever.
No state income tax.
No state income, a lot of different things. But the situation of the growth has put such a burden on land. There's people don't want the farmers to sell their land in Bedford County. There are people that'll stand up and say, you can't sell your farmland. Well, can you tell somebody when they inherited it from mom and dad and they farmed it forever and their mom and dad farmed it forever and their mom and dad farmed it forever. And then they get to the point and say, we don't want to farm. We won't sell it. So what do? They sell it. Frankie's the same way. Frankie doesn't want to farm it. You can't make any money farming it.
It concerns me that we're losing farmland. I mean,
But how you gonna stop it unless you own it?
well, but you need to make it, economically feasible for people to farm so that it's desirable to sell it for a farm. I mean, there was a time people went into farming because you made a good living at farming. I don't know what's going on with the federal level that's making it uneconomical to farm, because you drive around
Well,
here.
the prices of equipment, a tractor used to cost $10,000. Now that tractor's $100,000. Seed that used to be this is outrageous. It's greed. It's just greed. But the farming situation, you got to have somebody with a mentality that says, I want to live by myself. I want my family and all my children. And instead of having 2 children, they'd have 7 that would help us on this farm and do this and do that. And I'm all for the farmland. I don't want it to go away, but I am sure not going to be going out there and telling somebody you can't sell your farm. And I have a lady that I date. She just inherited 140 acres and she's letting somebody else farm it and all that stuff. Her heart is, that's where my mom and dad farmed. I saw my dad go out there all the time. I want to keep it. She's not going to make any money off of it. She may break even. And I've got a sister-in-law. She just told me that. Now you say, what are we doing to try to help those people to keep that farm? Well, my sister-in-law owns 150 acres right on 231 South at Hazel Green, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in the world's been trying to give her millions and millions of dollars for it. She said, I'm not going to do it. She's doing the same thing. She's leasing it out to somebody to farm and all that. She told me the other day, because of the green belt or green space or whatever they call it in the state, her taxes for her 150 acres and her house is less than what my house is on Garden Gate.
Well, I think we need to develop, an initiative to look at ways to help people make good money farming. And you're not going to do it the old way of ma and pa and 7 kids and a tractor,
Right.
But people are making good money in, innovative practices and diversification. And my concern is that nobody is teaching people that and encouraging that, and maybe we need to form, corporations, trusts, let's call them land trusts, who want to see it stay farming and have the trust on the land and let,
Mhm.
people farm it, but also have say in what they're doing so that they can make good money at it. So it means you need, people with a background in entrepreneurship and a background in innovative farming practices and interested investors who are willing to buy a land trust. I'd probably invest a little bit in a land trust if I thought I wasn't pouring my money down a rat hole,
Right.
But
And
in a
that's,
state like
that is
Tennessee,
1%. You are the 1%, probably.
it only takes 1%.
I know it does, but you're 1%. Now are we going to go out there and tell somebody else that they can't do that? Are we gonna tell you you can't do? Well, we've got one county commissioner that's just decided not to run, Greg Vick. He came up and said, we don't want these trash dollar stores out there. That's all those people got to shop at. Those farmers out there in Unionville and all that. We don't want them trashy places out there. We don't want you to put a mobile home or a manufactured home or an RV on your property. We don't want you to do that because it makes it look trashy. We have bought this land in Bedford County so that we can sell it and develop it. That's what he said. That's his language from the newspaper. That's probably why he's not running again. But, and you've got that mentality. Some people say, I've got this property that I got from my family and I got this. My family didn't have any money. They didn't have any property. Everything I worked for. I left my daddy's house with $100 and I'm a millionaire now. Where did that come from? Hard work and investing and all this stuff. I didn't get given anything. And my family never did without. I worked 18-hour days with the Duck River Electric. When we had ice storms, we were everywhere doing whatever we needed to do. Hard work will pay off. What you're saying, I agree with 100%. I love for all this farmland. Bell Buckle's beautiful. I lived in Bell Buckle. That was our first house when we got out of the Navy with a little baby girl who's 54 now. We lived in Wartrace at Mullins Mill, Ledford Mill. Bought a home up there with 5 acres in the woods, beautiful, and raised some children there. And then went over and raised the younger 2 over at Normandy Lake, bought some property there when Valley View Estates, right before you get to the dam, developed. We were the 4th house in there. Beautiful. We could walk in there, private, and walk over to the lake, ride bicycles over the lake. People don't realize that, but now we've got people at Global Manor out here on Fairfield Pike and all these places that are $300,000 homes. They're paying $325,000. They have 10 feet, and that's another thing we've done. They have 10 feet between them and the next place. So their unit is sitting here and this one here. So you kind of have to step around it to get through the yard to get
We
to it.
lived in a development where
Yeah,
the
yeah,
setback on
yeah,
the side was
yeah.
5 feet.
And
So
see, we're increasing that with our planning. We just decided to increase that for safety, for fire protection. If that house gets on fire, it's going to catch us on fire. All kinds of different things. But I'm with you on it. That 1%, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I have a request.
Yeah.